Good day everyone and welcome back to your iTech 103 Intermediate. I am Leonard Andre Pialola and in this video we are going to talk about two different topics that is related to Windows form applications in C# language. Let's begin. The two topics we are going to discuss today is the flow layout panel and the help provider. In simple terms, flow layout panel organizes controls in a flow layout, while help provider provides context-sensitive help to the users. So to introduce flow layout panel, the flow layout panel is used to arrange child controls in a horizontal or vertical flow. It is one of the most commonly used layout panels in Windows Form and is useful for designing dynamic responsive user interfaces. And in this report, we will discuss the basic feature, the usage of flow layout panel control in Windows Forms application. To start off, we must first answer what the flow layout panel does, how does it work, and where is it useful. So the flow layout panel control is a container control that is used to organize other controls in a flow layout. It provides a way to arrange child controls either horizontally or vertically, and based on available space, it automatically adjusts the position of child controls as the size of the parent container changes. So how does it work? The flow layout panel control is used like any other container control in C# Windows Forms. To use it, you simply drag and drop it onto a form from a toolbox. You can then add other controls to the flow layout panel by dragging and dropping them into the control, or by adding them programmatically. Once the child controls are added, you can set the properties of the flow layout panel to control the flow, direction, alignment, and spacing between the control. So where is it useful? The flow layout panel control is commonly used in Windows Form applications for creating dynamic and responsive user interfaces. It is especially useful in scenarios where the number of child control can vary at runtime, or when the size of parent container changes dynamically. Example of where the flow layout panel can be used include building a dashboard that displays widgets in a horizontal or vertical layout, creating a list of items that can be scrolled horizontally or vertically, designing a form automatically adjusts its layout based on the available space. Before we proceed to the conclusion, let us first show a demo of the flow layout panel itself. So this is a sample demo program that I have created with the help of some research in YouTube and other sources. To start off, let's run this program. This box right here that you see is what you call the flow layout panel. This panel can contain different kind of controls. And in this program, I have set it so that we can add lots of buttons, lots and lots of buttons. Control name can be set as the ID or the name, variable name for the button. Let's just call it button 1. Then the control text is what's going to be displayed in the button itself. So just call it button. So if we click add, we can see that the button appears. And let's just, for simplicity's sake, just add a bunch of buttons so that we can show what the flow layout panel really does. So flow layout panel has different kinds of properties, which determines the layout of its content. Here in this combo box right here, I have put the four major properties for the arrangement of the flow layout. First of which is the top down, which displays the contents from top to bottom or from top to down. Next is the bottom up, starts from bottom going up, left to right. Doesn't see much change here because it's a bit compact, and right to left. But we can see the more changes as we toggle this wrap content switch. This wrap content makes it so that it is wrapped and is not in a straight line. So let's just, as a default, it's toggled as true. So it's wrapped right now. So we can see it. And here in, when we uncheck the wrap contents, we can see that it's now in a straight line because the contents are not wrapped in a box sort of position. So if we toggle this now, we can see the bottom of the window. Yeah, and from left to right, we can see now that it starts from left and going to the right. So if we turn on this auto scroll button, now a scroll bar appears so that we can see the different buttons from left to right. Also works from top to down. So we can see the top button to the lowest button. And this can be applied in different kind of controls as well, not just buttons. We can use picture box or panels. And here in demo 2, I've add like I just did the same thing with this, just with panels, just a solid color for an example. So we can click add for different panels, and yeah, just choose a direction, left to right, bottom, up, left. We can turn on the wrap content so that we can see its position change from a wrap position to a straight line. And we can toggle auto scroll so that we can see the scroll bar, so that we can see the bottom of the bottom panels down below. This is usually useful for like like inventory management, where you can see different pictures of the items that is going to be cataloged, and it can be sorted out cleanly using flow layout panel. And yeah, that's it from the demo. As for the code, let's just look at it for a bit. In this add, wait, wrong button. In this add button, it takes a while to load. I just created, in this button event, we created a new button called new button and give that button a name. That control text name is the variable name or kind of the ID. As for the display text, it's just set to the control text.text. And to display it in the flow layout panel, we use the variable name of the layout panel itself, sample flow layout panel, that controls that add, and the new button, which is this one. And for the combo box, this is the combo box, which is, I believe, going to be discussed by another student. We just use a switch statement which shows the different options and the flow direction properties for the flow layout panel. As for the check boxes, it's just an if else statement. If it is checked and then it is true, then the wrap contents will be property will be set to true as well, else it will be set to false. The scroll box or the auto scroll checkbox is also the same, just the same code recycled. As for the second form, it's just the same. I just used panels instead of buttons. Yeah, I tried to make it so that I could change the color, but I haven't studied enough for it. So yeah, that's my demonstration for the flow layout panel. I hope you understood. So to conclude, the flow layout panel control is a powerful tool for creating dynamic and responsive user interfaces, and is commonly used in a variety of scenarios. By understanding how to use this control, You can create more flexible and robust user interfaces for your Windows Form application. And that is it for my report for flow layout panel. And thank you. Now moving on to the next topic, the help provider. In C# Windows Form, the help provider control is used to provide context-sensitive help to the users of a Windows Form application. It allows you to associate help topics with control on a form and display the appropriate help content when the user interacts with those controls. In this report, we will discuss the basic features and usage of the help provider control in C# Windows Form application. Again, I'm going to explain what, how, and where. What does it mean? How does it work? And where is it useful for? Where can it be useful for? The help provider control is a component that is used to provide context-sensitive help to the users of a Windows Form application. It enables you to associate help topics with the controls on a form and display the appropriate help content when the user interacts with those controls. It can display help contents in a variety of formats such as text, HTML, or CHM files. So how to use the help provider is kind of straightforward. The help provider control is used to provide context-sensitive help to the user of a Windows Form application. To use it, you simply drag and drop it onto the form of a toolbox. You can then associate help topics with controls on the form by setting the help string property of each control. I'll show you an example of that later. The help string property should contain a brief description of the control's purpose or a reference to the help content that describes how to use the control. So where is help provider most useful? The help provider control is commonly used in Windows Form application for providing context-sensitive help to the users. It is especially useful in scenarios where the application contains a large number of controls or where the application's user interface is complex and difficult to understand. And here we have samples which generally use the help provider. It is useful when building a data entry form that contains many controls with different input requirements. It can also be used when creating a wizard-style interface that guides the user through a complex task, as well as designing a help system that provides the detailed documentation for each control in the application. Now, let's proceed to the demonstration code. Here I have a sample registration form, and with the use of help provider, I just simply add some instructions when you press F1. A brief instruction appears, and this is where you enter your name. And when you click the second part, this is where you enter your age, and this is where you enter the date and time. This is the brief demonstration of how you can use help provider in your code. So let's look at the code itself. So when we load the form, the help provider with its property set help string, this is where you declare what you want, what instruction you want to place in the particular object, which is the text box. And in the second one, the age text box, we showed we placed the instructions that this is where the age is going to be placed, as well as the date time picker. That's the simplest I think simplest way of using help provider. Another way is with its when adding a link or a what do you call that, or a file path that shows a website or an HTML file that shows the help what do you call it, the help page. So we can just edit this for a bit, and in the design, the help provider property, we can, here in the help namespace, we will put the file path. Let's just try this one here. This link is in C# HTML. So whenever we place a file path here, we should change the property or the help help button. Which one was it? Yes, this one. You should set this help button to true so that when you run the program and again and press F1, here, hmm, let's try and debug this. Oh, I was mistaken. It's supposed to be this one. Show help on help provider. That's the one that's supposed to be set to true, not the show help button one. My bad. Set this back to false and rerun the program. So now when we press F1, we should be redirected, or not, since we already placed. Let's just try and get rid of this for a bit. Edit out, run it again. Now let's try if it will redirect us to the help page. And now it works, yes. Since I just downloaded the HTML file, this is what the basic form or structure of that HTML file looks like. So yeah, by just removing the set help string that we declared earlier, we can now utilize the link that we have, or the file path that we have placed in the property of the help provider itself. So that is another way of using help provider, by setting your own help page and making, and by with the press of a button you can show, or you can help the user find or navigate to whatever they want. So that concludes, that's it for my demo. And for the conclusion, in this report we have discussed the basic features and usage of help provider control in C# Windows application. The help provider controls is a powerful tool for providing context-sensitive help to the users of a Windows Phone application, and is commonly used in a variety of scenarios. By understanding how to use this control, you can create more user-friendly and informative applications for your user. So yeah, with the help of the help provider, you can you can help your users you can help your user interact more, like so that they can easily understand the program that they are using. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you very much for listening and have a good day. God bless.